I thank Chanakya University and AICT IKS Division, Ministry of Education, Government of India, for making this conference a reality. In fact, Bangalore and me for IKS has a very emotional bond. It's been almost 2 decades that I've been coming here at IBA Institute under the leadership of Dr. Subhash Sharma on conferences in IKS when we didn't even know the word IKS. We didn't even call it IKS. But it was all about Bharatiya Gyan Parampara and our own wisdom. And whichever field we are working in, we would try to integrate that wisdom. My mind goes back to all the gurus that have walked before us. And that is the reason we are able to have this conference and sit here and deliberate upon it. Health and well-being have been my favorite, maybe because I was born 4 pounds and my mother was not even sure I live well and healthy. And maybe that is the reason my interest in health and well-being. Graduated in psychology from St. Xavier's, Bombay, but I lived right across Podar Hospital, one of the oldest Ayurveda colleges in Bombay. So maybe Dhanvantari ji kept on sending me a lot of good vibrations. And that's where my passion and my research in the field of Ayurveda, integrating it with health and well-being. And therefore, I would love to share with you one insight that I have been able to, get from my entire work. What happens is, today we are here looking at IKS issues, strategy, and a way forward, right? When we look at issues, when it comes to health well-being, I think all of us, we are just coming out of the pandemic 2 years. And we don't even need to talk about issues in health, right? Because the list is long. However, pandemic was summarized it overall, made us realize how fragile our own immunity is, how wrong our lifestyle is, and therefore, how do you create a strategy and way forward? Our Prime Minister, Shri Narendra Modi ji, has been talking about Amrit Kal, right? And this is the perfect time for strategy before we reach 2047, the 100 years of our independence. However, the true independence would come only through IKS. Whichever field we are looking at, we still have a colonized way of living, thinking, educating. And therefore, IKS is certainly a way forward and strategy based on that. Sri Aurobindo said that we as humanity are going through an evolutionary crisis. However, he also said that every evolutionary crisis is a possibility of evolutionary growth. And therefore, pandemic, we can actually see it as an evolutionary growth. People have suddenly become aware of health and well-being at a much deeper level. Why did pandemic happen? And why did even India get impacted along with other nations where we have given Ayurveda to the world, right? I mean, we should have been saved of pandemic, but we were not. And that's where I realized that we have forgotten. The main issue here is we have forgotten our civilizational wisdom and cultural context. How do you go back? Another issue, we realize that we have stopped dharma. We do not live dharma. We do not talk about dharma. We do not spread dharma. Dharma is there in dharma shastras and books and for conferences. We need to bring dharma back in our everyday life. And here when I say dharma, I don't mean it as religion. It's extremely unfortunate that dharma word has been translated as religion. Dharayati iti dharma, right? The one that upholds us, sustains us is dharma. We are talking of UN's sustainability goals, but we don't talk of dharma. How can you achieve UN's goals without dharma? Because dharma becomes the foundation for sustainability. It also says that dharmo rakshati rakshitaha. One who follows dharma will be protected by dharma itself. So it certainly becomes our own duty, self-responsibility to understand what is dharma, how do I live my dharma. Otherwise, UN's goals, I call them Pallavagrahi Pandityam. The wisdom is never in the leaves, the wisdom is in the roots. So how do you go back to the roots? Also, without meta-knowledge and cognition, we'll not be able to implement dharma, because dharma becomes the overarching framework for all of us. And we cannot achieve sustainability unless we know the dharma, which gives us meta-knowledge and cognition. Health of the planet and health of individual, they are connected, right? I mean, we see so many articles talking about that. We see so many scholarly papers talking about it. But have we realized how my health is connected with the health of planet? Gopal Vasishtha, who has written recent very good articles and papers on symbiotic health, he talks of two kinds of strategies. So one, we understand the issue. Issue is we have forgotten our dharma. We have forgotten what dharma brings in our life. And we have forgotten because dharma helps us understand the interconnectedness of individual with the planet. So that's the issue. I'll share a framework which actually helps us understand how pandemic is a result of our dharma. So Gopal Vasishtha ji talks of two kinds of strategy, offense strategy and defense strategy. Offense strategy is when something has happened and now you want to, revert that problem. Defense strategy is when we look forward, when we are thinking forward and we design a strategy. But I would say when we look at Ayurveda, Ayurveda actually gives us corrective strategy. Why corrective? Because whatever is not right in my life, I can correct with the help of Ayurveda. And this is exactly what our Bharatiya Gyan Parampara is. First of all, the first strategy that we need is to redefine healthcare. I have looked at all the courses of healthcare in the world that are being offered by various universities. Unfortunately, they are all teaching sickness care. They don't teach healthcare. They don't have any definition of health. Look at WHO's definition. It's defining health as absence of disease. I think Ayurveda is the only Shastra that has given us and the world a positive construct of what is health and who is a healthy person, which no other medical science has. So the moment we start redefining health and healthy person, I'm not going into definitions because I want to focus a little more time on the framework that I want to share. But the moment we look at modern healthcare, we realize that they talk about external support. Just a while ago, K. Shankaranji talked about outside in and inside out, right? And so modern healthcare is more about how do I get support from medicine and doctors, surgery, pathological reports, right? Ayurveda says, no, look inward. Improve your immunity, improve your vyadhi kshamatva, your ability to stay healthy in whichever environment you are. I was surprised. I was teaching with SP Jain, and when I landed at Sydney campus, at the airport, I realized I saw a well-being store, and I said, wow, let me go and see. And I was shocked to find tablets of melatonin and serotonin. These are supposed to be natural hormones secreted by our body. Melatonin gives us good sleep. Serotonin makes us stay in a happy mood. Now, we are not taking any self-responsibility for my sleep or my happiness, but I want the healthcare industry to give me tablets to sleep well and feel happy. That's the shift that we need. It's a huge paradigm shift in strategy that we would need, from outward focusing strategy to inward focusing strategy. When you look at even Ayurveda, what is the first objective of Ayurveda? It's swasthya rakshanam. It's the protecting the health of the healthy. Treating illness comes second. But we have forgotten. We have so many Panchkarma centers today in Kerala, medical tourism, that unfortunately we are not focusing on Swastha Rakshanam. So that can be another strategy. And when the pandemic came, obviously my natural instinct and my intuition guided me to Charak Samhita, one of my favorite. For me, Charak Samhita is my Bhagavad Gita. And in fact, there is an entire chapter in Vimanasthana, Tritiya Adhyaya, which is on pandemic, Janapado Dvamsa, which means it has happened before in time, right? If our rishis have written about it so many years ago, Janapado Dvamsa or pandemic has happened before. But the most beautiful thing I found in that chapter is, how is it connected with me as an individual? How is it connected with the society? How is it connected with the nation? And it gives you a framework. It begins here. We are here in pandemic. Now let's go backward. What created pandemic? And the first sentence or the first cause of pandemic is climate change. All of us have been experiencing climate change, right? We should have been ready for a pandemic, but we were not. Climate change happens, and beautifully in Charak Samhita it is given at 4 levels. Vayu, Jala, Desha, Kala. They all can be in a Prakrut or a natural state, or they can become Vikrut. Whether it's Bangalore or Delhi or now even Mumbai, we all know Vayu is Vikrut. We all know the air pollution, and we can't escape that. Jala, Bangalore had beautiful lakes, right? What have we done to that? Vikrut. So Vikrut Vayu, Vikrut Jala, Vikrut Desha. Now beautifully Ayurveda gives you the insight into what is a Desha. At a superficial level, we may think that, oh, it's a geographical Desh. That is, of course, there. It does talk of geography. However, it goes much deeper. It says even Deha Desha. I live in my body, right? So my body is also a Desha. If I already have lack of immunity, any disease can affect me. It talks of social, samajik desha. Is the society full of sadavritta? People with shila, following their dharma? Are they ethical in their business practices? What is their achar, vichar, vyavhar? And if the desh becomes vikrut, that social, samajik desh becomes vikrut, climate change would happen. And then it talks of Kala, which is Ritu, seasons. We have all seen what Ayurveda would say Ayog, Ati Yoga or Mithya Yoga of Ritus, right? Which means in winter there is no cold, there is too much of rain, Mithya Yoga or Ati Yoga, right? Or summers there is cool wind. So there is Viparita Kala. That would create climate change. And it's a vicious circle. Vikrut, Vayu, Jala, Desha, Kala will create climate change. Climate will create Vikruti in them. Why does that happen? Even that our rishis have identified. Go back, it comes from adharma. People have forgotten dharma at individual level, collective social level, but most important at governance level. And why has adharma happened? And beautiful psychological insights, right? Is about lobha. Because lobha about dhan, lobha about power, greed about me first, more, consumerism has increased to such a level that we indulge into adharma. And this is where I'm remembering one poetry that I learned way back in school. And I'm really grateful to my parents for putting me in a Gujarati medium school. This was a poem called Gramya Mata by Kalapi, a very well-known poet in Gujarati. long, long ago, there was a king. And those days, kings used to disguise themselves as common people and go around in their kingdom. So one early morning, this king has started on his horse and he goes ahead outside the village where there are farms, and he's very thirsty. And he sees a sugarcane farm and a very old lady there in the farm. So he goes there, sitting on the horse because he's a king. He doesn't even get down. Sitting on the horse, he asks that lady, "May I have a glass of sugarcane juice? I'm thirsty." That woman is very happy. She doesn't even know he's a king, but she's very happy to serve a guest. She takes out the sugarcane, cuts it. The moment she cuts the sugarcane, juice flows out of it. And she takes out the juice and gives it to the king. Now, while having the juice, the king is looking around. He looks at the crop and says, thinks in his mind, doesn't say, but thinks in his mind, "My people seem to be rich. Such a good crop. I should tax them more." And very mindlessly, he's drunk the juice, so he's not happy. So he gives the glass back and requests for one more glass. Mother is happy to give him one more glass. She takes out another sugarcane. And guess what? There was no juice. There was no juice. And she looks puzzled and she has tears in her eyes flowing. And the king couldn't understand. He says, "Why are you crying? Take out another one. It's okay if one is not giving you juice." She says, "No. Now none of them will give you juice." Why? She doesn't even know he's a king, but she says that the king of this grammar has greed in his mind. And because of the greed, the rasa, the juice of the earth has died. Now the king gets that aha moment of self-reflection. He gets down from the horse, touches the feet of Gramya Mata and cries and says, "Sorry, I'm the king." Now imagine that such a beautiful poem, it has stayed with me after so many years. And while I was working on my Hitayu Sukhayu project and reading Pandemic Janapadodvamsa framework, I realized this is what policymakers need to know. This is what the prime ministers, WHO heads, UN heads, they all need to know. If I'm looking pandemic as an opportunity to manufacture more pharmaceutical products, there is greed. Also, yesterday I think B. Mahadevan ji said about Sanskrit being, everyone should learn Sanskrit. Where does the word lobha come from? And how is it different from the word labha? Because in IKS, when we talk of IKS, all our business houses, they would start their accounting book writing labha shubha. Most of the homes in India would have written down labha shubha and a swastika outside their house. Labha and lobha, only one difference, right? Labha word comes from root labha. And the a word added to make it labha, a means divine, which means everything which I have or everything which is around is divine, is coming as a grace to us. While lobha comes from the word lubha. And the u means me and mine, which means it's not divine, nothing to do with the cosmos. It's me, it's my hard work. I should have more. And I should have more creates lobha or the greed. So the framework starts with pandemic, Janapadodvamsa, goes back to climate change at Vayu, Jala, Desha, Kala, goes back to adharma and lobha. And lobha is divided at individual level, society level, governance and leadership level. Now what do you do? Okay, I've understood. This is the issue, right? This is where we are also reminded of Bhagavad Gita 16th Adhyaya, which talks of Daivi Sampat and Asuri Sampat. Because within us we have this both, right? Daiva and Asur need not be only outside. But Daiva is within me. Daiva, the moment I'm dictated by Labha, I become Daivi. The moment I'm getting into greed or Lobha, I become Asuri. Now what to do? I've understood this much. What is the way forward, right? And what needs to be the strategy for the way forward? This is where Ayurveda says, okay, if adharma has caused Vikruti, climate change and pandemic, it's very easy. Get dharma back in our life. How do I get dharma back in my life? And it says beautifully, begin with yourself. Sadavritta. And in Ayurveda, in Charak Samhita, there are chapters on Sadavritta and Achara Rasayana. How do I become a better human being? It's very unfortunate that we don't teach this in any of our educational institutions. I'm sure even in BMS college, it's a 5-mark question in your paper and you study Sadavritta only for that. What are the 4? Okay, speak truth, do seva of vriddha, right? Give dhanam, etc. But we also need to get from individual levels dharma back, Sadavritta back in our business practices. Giving CSR will not help. The way UN SDGs are superficial, they have become superficial. CSR activities are superficial because they are not coming from the individual Sadavritta or organizational Sadavritta. In management, we never teach organizational Sadavritta. And then what about governance? What about public policies? Health, education, agriculture, they all have to come together. The leaders have to understand what is their dharma. And their public policies have to come from their dharma. So our Amrutkal strategy needs to come from bringing back Sadavritta and dharma in everything that we do. And that would lead, I mean, we all have been hearing new normal, right, during the pandemic times. The new normal or the new world order will come with dharma. And that dharma will become the future evolutionary state that Sri Aurobindo has been talking about. And this is where with Rajuji I've been discussing this, that we don't need smart cities, right? What we need is wise villages. Because smart city is all about technology, right? There is no Sadavritta, there is no Pragya, there is no Dharma. Bangalore is the victim of smart city, right? With all the metros and all the trees being cut. I mean, all the cities, do we want smart cities? During pandemic, what happened is that some of the people I knew who were doing public policy courses with Vision India Foundation, but during the pandemic, they all went back home to their small towns and villages. Some of them went back to farming. And one person even shared that we only need money when we need a petrol or diesel. Otherwise, we have gone back to barter system. We are spending so much more time in nature and with family. And obviously, in spite of pandemic, the health and well-being went up. And Ayurveda describes beautifully the Hita and Sukha Ayu construct, which we all can start first applying in our individual life, create curriculums, teach it at school level, college level, degree courses level, postgraduate levels, right? Public policy, bring them back to Dharma along. And that can only happen when I'm following my Dharma. If I was going to open this and not carry this, I have no right to even talk about Hitayu, Sukhayu and sit here. I do open it when it's not with me or, it's a consequence of forgetting it somewhere else. So this was the framework. We started with Janapadodvamsa, but we would end, if we create that paradigm shift of Dharma, we would end with a new world order or the future noons as Sri Aurobindo calls it. Namaskar.